Okay, so today we're going to unpack a really simple story, but one that has a pretty powerful lesson about perspective. It's all about a new teacher, some very unhappy students, and how we judge people, especially when things change. It really gets to the heart of why it's so important to understand the why behind what someone does.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You get a new boss, a new teacher, a new coach, and suddenly everything feels off. It's just different. And that resistance, that feeling of, ugh, I liked it the old way, is something we all know. And that's exactly where our story kicks off. So let me introduce you to Guttu and Chinky. They've just started the new school year, but honestly, they're miserable. They really, really miss their old teacher, and they just cannot seem to connect with the new one, Parul Ma'am. For them, the classroom, which used to feel so warm and welcoming, now just feels scary. And from their point of view, the difference is like night and day. In one corner, you've got Preeti Ma'am, their old teacher. They remember her as kind, loving, someone who rarely ever scolded them. And in the other corner, Parul Ma'am. All they see is someone who's super strict, always serious, and scolds them. A lot. It's a huge contrast, and it's all they can talk about. And this is where everything changes. Picture this. It's their lunch break. Guttu and Chinky are in the middle of complaining about Parul Ma'am, and suddenly, the conversation just stops. Because she's walked in, and she heard every single word. Her reaction? Just silence and a stern look that sends this wave of pure panic through the kids. You can just feel the air go out of the room. It's that horrible sinking feeling in your stomach when you realize your private complaints have just become very, very public. The gossip session is over, and now the fear is really starting to set in. And you know how our minds work. They immediately jump to the absolute worst case scenario. This isn't just about getting told off anymore. Oh no, they're imagining being suspended. That mix of guilt and fear is turning their new teacher into this terrifying figure in their minds. Now, here's the thing. When Parul Ma'am doesn't punish them right away, you'd think they'd be relieved, right? Nope, they don't see it as mercy. To them, her silence is just ominous. They are totally convinced that this is just the calm before a much, much bigger storm. So later that day, the kids are sitting in the park, just stewing in their guilt when they hear a voice they know and love. It's their old teacher, Preeti Ma'am. And this chance meeting is the real turning point of the whole story, where all that fear starts to change into something else, understanding. And Preeti Ma'am, she doesn't just say, they're there. She completely reframes the whole situation for them. She breaks it down. First, she reminds them, hey, you're in a higher grade now. The standards are higher. Second, that means you've got to be more serious about your schoolwork. And third, and this is the big one, Parul Ma'am's strictness isn't about being mean. It's for their own good. She has the same goal they do, to help them succeed. And to really drive the point home, she brings up an example. She reminds Chinky about that time she was struggling with her sorry for the big school function, and Preeti Ma'am came to the rescue. That was her kindness in action, her reputation as a lifesaver. But then she flips the script. She looks right at Gatu and reminds him of the time he was being disruptive, and she made him stand outside. But the very next day, she did something that shocked everyone. She made him the class monitor. It was a perfect example of tough love. She's showing them that she too used discipline to help them grow. And with that new perspective, it's like a light bulb just goes on. Click! It all makes sense. They finally get it. They realize they've completely misjudged Parul Ma'am. They were so focused on how she was teaching, they never stopped to think about why. And that guilt they were feeling, it turns into a real desire to make things right.
So the next day at school, they don't just mumble a quick sorry. They go the extra mile. They all work together to create this amazing handmade card. And during their lunch break, they go find Parul Ma'am in the staff room and give it to her. It's a genuine, from-the-heart apology.
And Parul Ma'am's response is just perfect. She smiles and she accepts their apology so warmly. She tells them, if you've realized your mistake, then I've forgiven you. It's okay. And just like that, you know her strictness was never personal. The conflict is over, and that huge weight of guilt is finally lifted. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's that sometimes the people who challenge us are the ones who help us grow the most. It's not always about the people who just comfort us. The real lesson here is to try and look past the what, the strict rule or the tough feedback, and really try to find the why. Because usually the why is that someone cares enough to want to see you get better. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. Think back in your own life. Was there a teacher, a coach, maybe a boss, who seemed really tough at the time? Who was that person for you? And now that you can look back, what did their tough love actually end up teaching you?